Hey guys, welcome to Chef Grace's Place. Now, today, we're gonna make hot chocolate. But growing up, just like probably every suburban kid in America, I was used to the powdered hot chocolate, and people would either mix it with water or mix it with milk. I think in my house we used to mix it with water. A lot of those mixes have like milk powder and stuff in it, so it's still like kind of creamy. But you would go to someone else's house, they make it with milk. Some people would add seasonings and stuff. But I was always used to a very like thin hot chocolate. And then when I started working in restaurants, the Mexican hot chocolate kind of became like a fashionable fad. So basically there's two different ways to make hot chocolate, or two different bases of hot chocolate. There's a bunch of different varieties of hot chocolate, but the two main bases are the powdered form with cocoa powder, or the ganache base, which is an emulsification of chocolate and cream or milk or a liquid basically. When I started working in other restaurants, I really enjoyed the drinking chocolate, but a lot of it was like too rich for me. I could only have a little bit. And I kind of missed like the thirst quenching factor of having a thinner hot chocolate. Because when I was a kid, we would always have hot chocolate after we went sledding. So that's how I came up with this recipe. It's kind of in the middle. So I'm going to use both the chocolate ganache technique and use the cocoa powder technique. I'm also going to add some spices to my hot chocolate. So I wanted to take a minute to talk about ingredients. It's really important in this recipe that you use a good quality chocolate because it's hot chocolate. Chocolate's like the main ingredient, right? So, and then high quality cocoa powder. Surprisingly, Hershey's Special Dark is widely available, and it's a Dutch cocoa, so it's processed with an alkaline, and which takes the acidity out of the cocoa powder. So if you look at it compared to one that's not processed, it's dark. It doesn't look red. It is more like a dark, cool tone brown. So this is the cocoa powder that I'm going for. That said, you could, this is all based on your taste. So I'm going to show you how the components work together with each other, and then you can adjust them according to what kind of outcome you want, right? So I'm using some Ghirardelli chocolate chips. So over to the spices. The combination of cinnamon, nutmeg, and coffee will actually bring out some really good notes in your chocolate. Usually I'll add a 1/4 teaspoon of instant coffee to this recipe, usually decaf, just because I want the flavor and not the caffeine. I'm actually gonna put some Cafe Patron in my hot chocolate, make this little cocktail. So that's why I'm leaving it out. But if you don't want to add alcohol to this recipe, then go ahead and add a little pinch of instant coffee. So next we gotta talk about cinnamon. The world is full of so many different varieties of cinnamon. The one we're used to in America is Mexican cinnamon, which I love. It's just your regular sweet cinnamon that you would get at the grocery store here. What I'm gonna try out today, because I found it at TJ Maxx actually, and I haven't seen it in a long time. I'm gonna use Vietnamese cinnamon. So Vietnamese cinnamon has, if you've ever had like big red chewing gum or a red hot candy or a hot tamale candy, that like red hot, it's a different flavor. It's a little spicier. Don't know how to explain it other than comparing it to Big Red chewing gum. So I'm going to use that, and instead of putting chili powder in it like you would for like a Mexican hot chocolate, I'm just going to rely on the spiciness of the Vietnamese cinnamon. If you have fresh nutmeg, this is an excellent recipe to use it in. Just to grate it in there. Another great addition to your hot chocolate spices is star anise. It's got a great licoricey taste to it. We're going to make this the same way you would make a ganache. So we're going to heat up our milk and our cream. I'm using a combination of whole milk and heavy cream just to get a in the middle consistency of like super rich and light. If you grew up drinking like 2% milk or something and you want a thin hot chocolate, go ahead and use that. The more fat you have in your recipe, in your hot chocolate, the richer it's going to be. So keep that in mind when you're making it. That's also why using chocolate, like actual chocolate, makes it richer, because you're adding that cocoa butter. So there's also the fat in the chocolate that's providing that velvety texture. Okay, so in my pot, I'm gonna put my sugar and my spices, my cocoa powder, and I'm also gonna put a pinch of salt just to bring out all the flavors. I'm going to whisk that together so this way it won't all rise to the top and just clump up there. And then I'm going to put in the milk and the heavy cream. Then I'm gonna bring that to almost a boil on the stove. After I do that, I'm gonna pour it over the chocolate and let it sit for just a second or two, because if I stir it immediately, I'm gonna start stirring the heat out of the milk cream mixture, and I want to be able to melt all the chocolate. So at this point you want to taste it and see if you need to add anything else to it. I think just the right amount of cinnamon right there. That's really good. All right, once I'm done melting everything and whisking everything up, I'm gonna strain it into a Cambro. Then, if I have to, I'll just reheat it for drinking. Now all that's left is to get your favorite hot chocolate milk. I like to put my marshmallows in the bottom. This way they all get like kind of melty when they float to the top. And then, you're gonna add your Cafe Patron or your Baileys. And if you don't partake in alcohol, you could just leave it plain. But also, if you partake in cannabis, this is a great recipe to infuse. And you might not know this, but I wrote a book on how to cook with cannabis, so the link will be in the description. This is one of the recipes in the book, actually. All right. You can smell the tequila. Some good stuff. Don't forget to have your Christmas cookies with it. Thanks for stopping by Grace's Place. I hope you have a fun time making holiday cookies and hot chocolate. And there goes my hot chocolate, guys.